Dobry, witam najbardziej zapalonych miłośników tego kanału. Patrzyłem trochę w nocne niebo i kurna coś fajnego leciało, ale tym razem naprawdę nie fake, tylko fajna rzecz. Nie było to ISS na pewno, bo było za duże i tego dnia stacja nie była widoczna z Polski. I pokażę Wam za chwilę, że to się przemieszcza. Tam jest księżyc na dole, a tam na górze to właśnie ten obiekt. Pokażę Wam, że to się porusza, bo jak będzie to leciało, to będzie mijał jedną gwiazdkę i potem drugą gwiazdkę. O, teraz była gwiazdka też. Będzie mijał gwiazdki, także patrzcie uważnie. Bardzo jasny obiekt, poruszający się jednostajnym tempem. Próbowałem go przybliżyć, ale bardzo jasny i ostrości zero, oczywiście rozogniskowany. O, widzicie? Na górze jest gwiazdka, przeleciał. Jeszcze raz powtórka. O, cmyk. I za chwilę powinna być druga gwiazdka, tylko że na dole ekranu. Gdzieś ona była, na pewno powinno być ją widać. No o, teraz widzieliście? No. Nie mam pojęcia, co to było. Może chińska stacja kosmiczna. Nie sprawdzałem, gdzie ona się porusza. Dobra. I teraz następna rzecz. Kurde, schrzaniłem tutaj robotę. Słońce właśnie się tam przemyka za chmurami i zobaczcie, jakie piękne kolory miała krawędź. Byłem w bardzo niewygodnej pozycji. O, tam widzicie? Byłem w bardzo niewygodnej pozycji i bez statywu i mi kurde w ostatnim momencie mi uciekło to słońce. Spójrzcie, co się dzieje. Widziałem wielokrotnie takie różne efekty. To właśnie się tak dzieje, kiedy słońce chowa się za chmury. Nie zawsze się tak dzieje, ale czasami tak jest. O, teraz ładnie. Zróbmy zdjęcie. Piękna rzecz, bardzo piękna. Przechodzimy do następnego tematu. Tutaj już słońce się schowało i bardzo śliczne podświetlenie, takie rubinowe było chmury, niesamowicie czerwone. Ta chmura jest bardzo blisko mnie, ja wiem, może 10, maksymalnie 20 km ode mnie i ten rand ma tak super czerwono podświetlony. Na żywo te kolory są fascynujące. Na pewno widzieliście nieraz takie coś. Oczywiście mamy tutaj lokalne podświetlenie, tylko fragmenty chmury, prawda? Pamiętajcie, że tam mieszkają ludzie pod tą chmurą. A to podobna sytuacja kilka dni wcześniej, nie pamiętam kiedy, siedziałem na polu i było pełne, totalne zachmurzenie nieba. I znowu słońce tak, tam tylko lokalnie nad horyzontem, kiedy już zachodziło, to tam malutko tak zaczerwieniało chmurę. O, tylko tyci ino. Alright, i teraz bardzo fajna rozmowa. Pamiętacie, co ja mówiłem, że wolno nam poznawać naszą rzeczywistość, choć nie jesteśmy naukowcami? Posłuchajcie tego.
Of reality, like yourself, qualified to make observations about the nature of reality in the same way that scientists with their instruments and technologies, etc. are?
Because all the research that a scientist does, they do with the faculties of their mind, namely the faculties of thought and perception. And reality cannot be known through the mind, through thought and perception. So that there's a lot that scientists can and obviously do with their minds. But the one thing that no scientist will ever do, and indeed no person will ever do, is know the nature of reality through the faculties of their mind. Why? Because our minds impose their own limitations on everything that they know or perceive. In other words, the mind looks at reality, but reality appears to that mind in accordance with its own limitations. Just as one who looks at snow through orange tinted glasses. They are looking at the snow, but the snow will appear orange. Why? Because of the lens through which they perceive it. All science, and this may be true of most scientists, unlike the introspective ones like Don, who also meditate, but the vast majority of scientists investigate reality with their minds. It's the wrong tool. By the mind, I mean our conceiving and perceiving faculties. That's not to say that the work a scientist does with thought and perception is not valid. Of course, it's immensely valid, but it's not the right tool for researching reality. So that is why somebody who's not a scientist, or doesn't use their mind in a scientific way, by scientific I mean the conventional definition of the word scientific, is equally qualified to explore the nature of reality, as is someone with a scientifically trained mind.
Eventually it does. So I'm quite confident that, like this year's Nobel Prize for the experimental verification that local realism is false. That's just another clean nail in the coffin of space-time and physicalism. And
before we dive into space-time being doomed, one last question, actually, Rupert, for you on this, which is something I hear you say a lot, which is that no one has ever found matter. Now, again, I think to someone who perhaps is not particularly, who is a bit uninitiated, that might sound like an outrageous claim. So can you just clarify what you mean by that?
Well, all we ever find are, or know, are conscious experiences. And we extrapolate that, the existence of a physical stuff called matter that exists independently of consciousness. But nobody has ever found that stuff, let alone found how consciousness is generated from it. We found what appears as matter. So when we look at reality through our perceiving and conceiving faculties, reality appears to us as matter. And so matter is the name we give to the way reality appears to a finite mind that is constructed in the way a human mind is constructed. And there may be other kinds of minds in reality, that there may be other minds that look at the same reality, because there's only one reality, and it may appear to them in a very different way, not as matter. Why? Because their minds are configured in a different way from a human mind. So matter, the physical universe, is just the way that the one reality, which I would suggest is made of consciousness, appears from the localized finite perspective of a human mind. So matter is part of the way reality appears. It's not what reality is. And it's fine. I'm not suggesting that we should get rid of, that we should no longer speak in terms of matter or it's fine as long as we know that we're not describing what reality ultimately is. And actually, if we then try to find that stuff that appears to us as matter, if we go deeply into it, we never actually find it. Nobody has ever actually found it. We find appearances in consciousness.
Yes. Okay, so for example, if I hold this pen up, it seems like there's a pen here, but actually you can't separate the pen from the awareness that knows it.
You can't separate the pen from the awareness that knows it, nor can you separate its appearance from the perceiving faculties through which it is known. It's not a coincidence that as human beings, our perceiving faculties consist of seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling. And surprise, surprise, the world appears to us as sights, sounds, tastes, textures, and smells. Do you think that's a coincidence? Of course not. If we had a sixth perceiving sense, let's call it Xing, then we would find X's in the world. If we had a seventh sense called whying, we would find a corresponding whys